Salutations, all you awesome people that clicked on this video. We are back with another MLP Equestria Girls review by yours truly, the newbie brony known as Josh. Now that I've reviewed the movie that I respect the most, and the special that I despise the most, it's time for a more proper review that doesn't feature any love or hate bias. This review will be on a special that's in the minds of many for one specific reason alone that we'll get into later on. The topic this time will be Rollercoaster of Friendship. Now, this special is fondly remembered by the community for a multitude of things, and my mind was kinda all over the place when I came back to this one. But to kick things off, one thing I've noticed about this special in particular is that back when it came out in 2018, it wasn't advertised all that well. To my knowledge, it didn't really have that much marketing going on, as they were just like, here, have another EG special that you all have been wanting for the past couple of months. Not a huge problem, I just think that's sorta confusing. Anyway, now let's get this review started. This'll be interesting. After this kick-ass intro, we're given a 2-minute prologue scene that gives us a glimpse of this theme park, Equestria Land. Great name. And we're introduced to this chick who goes by the name Vignette Valencia, and she already gives me a bad itch. In this sequence, it's shown that Vignette's phone gets possessed by equestrian magic, and blatantly gives away that she's the villain, if you will, which is kind of already not a good sign, even without the generic equestrian magic plot. I don't know about you fellas, but I always prefer when shows give time for villains to be introduced, or just the writers not immediately telling you what the plot is, which this special doesn't exactly do. It's something that Forgotten Friendship, which came out the same year as this by the way, did right when they were introducing Wallflower Blush, where they take time and provide a build-up for the antagonist, but here it's just a dead giveaway like, here you go, that's the bad character. Anyway, what's being showcased throughout this scene is obviously them introducing Vignette to the audience, and her phone gets corrupted by equestrian magic, like I said. Before, it was already proven how over the top she tends to be with her crewmates, and she goes on about how she would love to have everything be the way she wanted. But now that her phone has the ability of doing exactly that by just taking a picture, it gives her access of literally making things how she wants. So yeah, not a very bright start. Thankfully, there's an entirely good scene directly after where we see the main 7 at the Canterlot Mall, which I think is what it's called. Applejack and Rarity are applying for summer jobs together, and we're already proven how much these two care for each other. Coincidentally, they're both applying to work at Equestria Land as Caramel Apple Girls, and Rarity gets hired on the spot, while Applejack is left out. RIP. Rarity doesn't get accepted as Caramel Apple Girl, and instead is chosen to be the lead parade costume designer. At first, she wants to decline the job since her main objective is spending time with her waifu, best friend. Yeah, that's what I meant. But as one could assume, Applejack insists that Rarity accepts the job since being a costume designer for a large business has been her dream since she was a toddler. Wow, so they've been friends for that long? And in the end, Rarity accepts the offer to work for the park, and we see Bulk Biceps making smoothies in Applejack's old job. Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but it got a laugh out of me, I'll give it that. Shortly after, we get a better glimpse of this theme park, and Indigo Zap from Friendship Games gets a cameo, which I believe was her last appearance in the series. Then Applejack complains about how lonely Rarity is without her besties, and how she shouldn't have taken the job, and like, dude, don't give me that crap when you specifically told her to take the job when she originally didn't want to, which we just saw. Alongside that, we also get to know more about Vignette and who she is as a character who basically represents social media stars on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever. Applejack gets confused once she takes a gander on the things she posts online, which is kinda relatable since in the real world, if a popular social media star posts something like them eating spaghetti or pizza, it would get like 1,000 likes out of nowhere. Then all the other girls learn that Vignette turns out to be Rarity's boss, along with them forming a friendship of some kind, while Applejack gets real grumpy about that. Oh, someone looks jealous! And that's a good thing, because as you'd imagine, Vignette isn't a good friend or boss at all, as we'll get into later. And I really wanted to avoid bringing this up, but there's really no way I can, so here it goes. Rainbow Dash dabs in this screenshot, which gave me the awful reminder of how much this series likes to mimic popular trends in the real world. Plus, the dabbing really shows this special's age, which is kinda dumb since dabbing slowly started dying around 2018, and this shot just killed it in an instant. From this point on, there's not really much else that advances the plot forward as the rest of the main 7 go off and do their own thing, while Rarity just works. Rainbow and Fluttershy get on a roller coaster that Rainbow surprisingly gets scared of going on, and we're treated to some nice Flutterdash moments here, and that's all fine and dandy. Sunset and Twilight try to win a very rigged game of ring toss that's run by the Flim Flam brothers. Oh great, they're in this special too. Thankfully they're not as annoying in this one as they usually are. As for Pinkie Pie, she decides to turn herself into a fun inspector, which I'm gonna take a guess that her job is to inspect fun? And I guess I have to mention the fact that this little girl is a reference to Megan from MLP G1. I bet some of you bronies were waiting for me to say that, right? Well, there you go. So, it's not like I forgot or anything. Later on is when the climax starts to actually begin once the evil girl takes pictures of them one by one, sending them to the Sonic Generations White World. Except for Applejack and Rarity, and gee, what a coincidence that these two were the only ones to avoid getting trapped in the phone. Also, can someone answer me why this dude was immediately antagonizing AJ in this scene? Like, my guy, what she was wearing there could have been a button or a ribbon or something for all I care, but he just assumes that she was using a fake security badge or whatever. And turns out the fun inspector thing that Pinkie came up with randomly was legit. So the fake cop allows Applejack to inspect the security office, and for a guy that seemed intimidating not even 2 minutes ago, he sure is a goofball throughout this scene. This scene is where one of them finally catch up with what Vignette is up to while she was talking to Rainbow Dash. There's one plot hole that I noticed with this film which I'm gonna address right now. If the plan was to prove that Vignette was evil, then the most obvious solution would be to record her or take a picture or something. But nope, we have to follow the script because the plot demands it. Now is where things start to get a little more intense. When AJ tries to tell the girls about what Vignette was really up to, they don't buy it immediately for some reason, even though Applejack's element is literal honesty. Then this leads to an argument between Rarity and Applejack, and do I even need to say that the way they argue in this scene resembles a married couple arguing way too much? Rarity thinks that Applejack was jealous of Vignette after everything they've been through, even though I'd say she's insane for believing that. Like, girl, AJ has literally been supporting you throughout this whole movie. Why would you ever assume she's making up the shit about her friends being trapped in the phone? Then the arguing just keeps building up until Applejack yells, "You're not special!" And, ouch. But in all seriousness, I'm pretty sure when she said that, she meant it as Vignette not seeing Rarity as a talented person, as she was clearly using her. Then the two just walk away from each other. Yep, sad, I know. Then once Vignette finally gets 5 out of the 7 girls, we now get to see what she had planned, and it seems that all she wanted was to change them completely. After viewing the results, yeah, this just further proved how self-centered she was, and I'm glad she didn't show up in anything else after this. Except for one of the Choose Your Own Ending shorts in 2019, but let's not get sidetracked here. Then Vignette tries to trap Rarity, and OMG, Rarity is somehow the only one who was able to prevent herself from being caught. Shortly after, AJ and Rare apologize to each other, which leads to probably one of the most famous scenes in this series, as I know a lot of bronies lost their minds after this. But yeah, if this whole scene and the entirety of G4 don't prove that these two are more than friends, then I don't know what will. And you ever notice how this entire special is just 2 characters doing a thing together because of some or most fans' craving for shipping fuel? You got Rarejack, Psyset, and Flutterdash, while Pinkie is just left out. Oof. But now Twilight was somehow able to call Applejack, and here we clearly see that Applejack has a phone, which backs up my plot hole that I just mentioned. And we're greeted to a very lame reveal showing that the girls weren't actually trapped in the phone after all. Yeah, not a very good plot twist. They weren't actually trapped in the phone, but instead some random white room that just randomly exists in this theme park. And do I want to know why such room exists with no windows or anything that fits in the park? Yes, but no. I guess now is a good time to say that I'm not a fan of how Equestria Girls deals with its background characters, because I feel like we see the exact same characters copy and pasted over and over again. Just thought I'd say that. And it's because that sure as hell is the case, which is much more noticeable in the movies after Legend of Everfree. Oh yeah, side note, this was the only time Rarity ever said Sweetie Belle's name in this spin-off series, by the way, her literal sister. But now the main 7 finally get to confront Vignette and we get a sick-looking Sailor Moon transformation sequence. Then Rarity stabs the phone and that's it. A little anticlimactic after that transformation sequence, but that's just me. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who watches this and the pony thing for the shows themselves and not for the millions of ships behind them. I mean, sure, I'm all for seeing Rarajack and Flutterdash moments, but I don't exactly see it as the main selling point for both shows. For the most part, it would usually be a side thing, but for some reason, Hasbro thought it would be a good idea to shove Rarajack in your face for the majority of this special. But of course, we can't forget about the ending musical number Side by Side, which, as you guessed, is a certified banger, approved by me. Seriously, it's almost shocking how Applejack and Rarity have such good chemistry together. Oh, also, did Vignette just leave the park once they resolved everything? Cause once they start singing, she's nowhere to be seen during the montage. Anyway, that's the end of the movie. Definitely got some things to unravel about all that, so let's get into it. I do like how all the girls are given their own material to work with, despite it being either hit or miss, and how Twilight and Sunset aren't the main focus of this special, as one could expect. My main gripes with this special is that I feel it kinda takes advantage of past storylines and references a little too much, and most importantly, I feel the shipping fuel could have been toned down just a bit. And Vignette is just a villain that doesn't seem to have much to work with and is more or less just annoying. Well, at least this one actually has a story to tell, unlike the holiday shit, which is bottom of the barrel if you ask me. Something I noticed about the 2018 and 2019 specials after Legend of Everfree is that they kind of had weaker ambition and not as grand of a presentation as the ones before 2018. I mean, compare this movie to Forgotten Friendship. At least Wallflower had a better understanding on her behalf of causing the climax in the movie. Vignette was just overly selfish in this entire movie, along with her motives for being evil not being intriguing at all, which doesn't really work for me. Rollercoaster of Friendship does have its good moments that may or may not completely save it from being mediocre, but I think it's just okay. Not the best, not the worst, just average at best, whereas compared to mid-Unwrapped, it's just not fun to watch. So yeah, most of the scenes with Rarajack were the saving grace for this special, one could say. Oh yeah, along with this comedy gold-ass face from Rarity. Also, I don't know why Microchip's being hired to be the person that sells the caramel apples was a thing in this movie, but it's there. Overall, I'd say a fitting score and rank for this special would be a 6.5 out of 10 and a C rank. I was originally going to give it a 6 out of 10, but I think that would be a bit harsh, so I'll be a little bit more generous. The special could have done a little better with the build up to the climax and maybe not rely on shipping fuel more than it should. After all, too much of a good thing can lead to becoming redundant and ruining it. Alright, well that'll do for this Equestria Girls review, so hope you all enjoyed, and be sure to look forward for more coming in the future. And be sure to let me know what you think about Rollercoaster of Friendship in the comments below. With that said, thank you guys for watching, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a nice day. Oh, and please be nice to me in the comments section.